something California does well, right, is I think, took a very forward facing look at how do it's too smoggy, the air's not healthy, how do we reduce emissions? And that's fair and right, and you should ask that. So what they look at, as anybody would, right, and say this is maybe 20 years ago, you've got them going, well, what are the sources of pollutants?
I see.
Well,
Source of
it's
pollutants.
trucks, it's mobile source, right? So, okay, well, if that's the biggest thing, well, then let's tackle that. And so they did. So many things have been done. There's been truck technology, electrification, a variety of things that have been done to try to deal with that. Maybe we need just more electric vehicles in general. Well, let's try to do that. So all the things have happened. We've done all the things that you can. You worked with industry. We created catalytic converters in California, right, to reduce emissions on car. So these are those examples of a regulator going, okay, air quality should be improved. How do we do it? Here are our largest sources. Well, let's go to the people that make that stuff and let's work with you and say, hey, manufacturers, you're making these cars. Is there something we can do? And you go, you know what, there is. And then you did it. So, we have this long history of going from we want to reduce emissions. And now, flash forward, maybe you're like 96% the way there.
I think the air here is pretty good.
Port of Long Beach in particular, right, is a national like blue ribbon gold standard of how to do a green port. And these folks, they have spent millions and they've gotten it like 98.2% of all particulate matter. We've got it. And this was done in a cost-effective way. This was done with industry. This was all done. But the tricky end of the story is, but what about that last 2%? What
Not
about
worth it.
how do we get it? How do we get to it? So what you now see back in 2021, South Coast Air Quality Management District says, we're going to take on the challenge of that last 2%. And what are the sources? What are the sources? Well, it's mobile source is what it is. Well, we don't regulate mobile source. So what can we do? Well, what about the other sources that attract the mobile source? Well, what do you mean? Well, like a warehouse. So I'm the South Coast AQMD. This is my purview, and I can regulate that warehouse. So what I'm going to do is say, no, you're not a direct source of emissions. You're an indirect source of emissions. And I'm now going to put rules on you that says, you have to have these forward-facing ports. You have to have electrification standards. You have to, and the good and bad of that is if you're a very, very large developer, maybe you can do that. But for a smaller person or any kind of redevelopment, which with an impacted inland empire, you're going to have to redevelop and make things more efficient, you now have an environment in which, well, okay, I'm not going to do it. And these have been put in place and they have now been proven to be completely ineffective.